触んなよ。
One Punch Man Season 3 is a failure on so many levels. The animation for One Punch Man Season 3 is some of the worst animation ever seen in the industry. How did the quality drop so poorly from what we all saw in Season 1 and 2? Honestly, it's a pretty simple answer. The studio was given an impossible timeline. The industry failed One Punch Man and the audience is getting one of the worst seasons of anime of all time. My name is Bugzey and I'm going to talk about how the anime industry failed One Punch Man. If you enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. After the completion of One Punch Man Season 2, many people were excited and wanting the next season. According to what happened in the manga, people knew that Season 3 was going to be a banger. Season 2 of One Punch Man ended on July 2nd, 2019 and disappeared for over 6 years. With the debut of Season 3 in 2025, fans were waiting to watch peak. However, this was very far from peak and in fact horrific. With animation that looks like a PowerPoint slideshow, many people were disappointed with the anime. Originally, people were taken to Twitter to express their disappointment in how the lead animator failed the community. No, it is not the same director who led Season 1 or 2, but someone who was known for animating romance animes. The director for One Punch Man Season 3 is Shinpei Nagai, and he has already come to Twitter to address the community. In a tweet, he mentions how he sees the comments regarding the animation and is sorry to disappoint. However, he says that he and his staff are doing the best they can, which people are not believing, especially given a 6-year gap from Season 2. People do not know that production for Season 3 of One Punch Man started at the beginning of 2025. Yes, you heard me correctly, which is absolutely ridiculous given how long it takes for a single anime episode to get animated. This is giving horrible flashbacks to the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super was laughed at during the beginning because of how poor the animation was. With how popular toy animation was, there was no reason for the animation to be that poor. Now, what was discovered during the airing of Super is horrifying. The anime eventually passed the manga. The anime was further ahead than the manga, which typically does not make sense. This meant that the episodes were getting animated weekly, explaining why there were parts in the early stages of Super that felt extremely off. The only positive from the anime being ahead of the manga was that nobody had an idea Ultra Instinct was coming. Bringing the conversation back to One Punch Man, Bandai Namco greenlit production for the beginning of 2025. Anyone with a brain knows that it is not enough time to have high quality work and not have a sloppy project. I can only assume that the director and animation team did not have a choice but to work in these impossible conditions to meet deadlines. One of the many issues with the anime industry. The worst part is that the negative feedback of One Punch Man Season 3 is going to affect the studio. I find it hard to believe that the studio does not know that this is a horrible job. Currently, One Punch Man Season 3 is the lowest rated anime with a 2.6 out of 10. I am not sure why Bandai Namco decided to self-sabotage an anime that is well liked in the community. Apparently, many shonen animes are not watched in Japan, given the exception of Dragon Ball and the Big Three, so it was a rare chance that Season 3 of One Punch Man was going to get greenlit when it did not do outstanding numbers for Season 2. One of the many issues with Bandai Namco and the anime industry, which we can talk about now. Few of the major problems in the anime industry are deadlines, staff, and budget. Many of these anime studios do not have more than 70 employees, which means being overworked is common. Hearing how some staff would work for 18 hours a day for a week straight is insane but not uncommon. Regarding deadlines and timelines for anime episodes, it depends on how many frames there are per episode. An example being Solo Leveling. Allegedly, it took 4 to 6 months for a single anime episode to get animated, with some episodes having over 200,000 frames of animation, which is insane. A1 Studio cooked with Solo Leveling, and given the proper budget and timeline, a masterpiece was shown. Most of the popular animators in Japan work with many different companies and are not exclusively hired by one studio, which makes sense because it takes years for animes to get greenlit for another season or start the process. Now, of course, certain animators enjoy working with companies and will return for projects if their style is needed for the project. Also, depending on how long the anime is, there can be many different animators and companies working on it. Dragon Ball Z had many different studios and animators working during its airing, so that Toei wasn't being overwhelmed, which is why certain episodes look different in a good or bad way. Of course, unknown factors such as a director getting ill, delays, etc. can lead to an anime looking completely different than it is supposed to. Ideally, the animation is supposed to mirror the manga art style, which is why it is important to have a good director. An interesting problem to have is having too much success. The anime which had too much success, which ended up being a problem leading down the road, is Jujutsu Kaisen. Gigi was having so much success, but it led to him having issues between his editorial staff and the community. Due to some of the decision making in the manga, people felt that Gigi was losing it with JJK. After the conclusion of JJK, Gigi had come to Twitter to express that he rushed JJK. This was a hypothesis that people had made during the last few chapters. Him rushing JJK because he simply wanted to end and was not agreeing with some of the changes the editorial staff wanted led to the demise of JJK. I am being dramatic when I say demise, so don't take it too literal. For an anime to be successful, everyone on the staff needs to be on the same page, which is obvious. However, when budget becomes an issue, that's when everything else can become irrelevant. In the anime industry, movies have always received a higher budget compared to anime shows. Movies always have better animation, marketing, etc., since it's going to be played in the theater. The only issue with movies adapting manga arcs or anime arcs is picking and choosing what stays and goes. Regarding an anime, it depends on the studio whether to have weekly releases or release all episodes at one time. It is extremely uncommon for animes to release all the episodes at once. Weekly releases allow for the hype and conversation to happen, plus no spoiling. But there is an issue with pirating animes and shows, which has always happened in the community. A question that I have seen often is, why don't US companies buy Japanese studios? Or what if Disney bought an anime studio? Well, if they did, it would be a cartoon and not an anime. Plus, the way companies and businesses work in Japan is very different from in America. We have seen animes being hosted on US platforms such as Disney+, Hulu, and Netflix. I almost forgot another con with anime movies. They are typically released in Japan months before it comes to the United States. This leads to spoilers becoming a major issue for those in the West. The only assumption I can make regarding why movies are released in Japan first is because the dub is not ready when the sub is finished. Let's talk about possible solutions to fix the anime industry and not have a repeat of One Punch Man Season 3. The ideas I have for the industry is something that can probably never happen, but I will consider it wishful thinking. The first idea would be to determine how many seasons for an anime will be created. While that is a hard metric to determine or predict, it should at least be talked about. Obviously, this is probably already done, but budget matters the most. For animes that are well known, whether in Japan or in the West, at least 2 seasons should be considered. Solo Leveling had already announced they were working on a season 3 before season 2 premiered. This is the foreshadowing that anime companies need to have, especially when the anime is popular. Wasting precious time, resources, and even not hiring the director you want is detrimental and unwise. Pointing back to Solo Leveling, fans already know season 3 is in production and will be high quality. The studio already suggested that the anime won't come out until 2027 or even 2028. While this is a long time, there can be a movie during the quiet time period to satisfy the fan base. One Punch Man is a popular anime and should have been releasing new seasons every 2 years. Another suggestion to fix the industry is receiving some investment from US companies. This is a complicated suggestion given the different business practices from Japan and the United States. If anime companies were able to receive millions of dollars for projects and more staff, they would maintain high quality and on-time delivery. A risky suggestion is for certain IPs to have exclusivity rights to certain animation studios. The most popular animation studios are MAPPA, Toei Animation, Madhouse, Ufotable, and Kyoto Animation. This idea will limit the amount of projects that certain anime studios have per year, so it does not split up their small team, allowing for projects to be delivered on time or even finished earlier to allow for proper revision. Lastly, anime studios should not be given less than 2 years to work on a project unless they have a large staff. Most animators want to release an excellent project, and when put in impossible time constraints, the quality and morale suffers. Sunrise, aka Bandai Namco, has done that with the One Punch Man Season 3 staff. I do not doubt they tried their best given their situation. However, fans are not going to accept that. Manga creators also need to be given mandatory breaks. It is not uncommon for manga creators to work until they have health issues. There is a joke in the anime manga industry that employees do not get to see their families. While this is a joke, there are some levels of truth to it. Akira Toriyama Sensei has stated he would work on a manga chapter a day or two before it was due. This was his writing process. After 5 days of procrastination, I'd start at around midnight, finishing up the storyboard around 6 in the morning, then spend until the evening of the next day inking everything. So I probably finished up everything in about a day and a half. Now, doing this as a young book is not too bad since the body is able to withstand that. Not when you are 50 plus years old. Ichiro Oda, creator of One Piece, has said once One Piece is finished, he is going to take a break and go around the world. Legend says this is because his wife wants to spend time with him. A Twitter account who people assume is Oda's wife or editor has tweeted that Oda only bathes once a week, which Luffy does in the anime. We all know this is not healthy. It should not be what manga creators go through. I understand creators love their projects, but there has to be a work-life balance or their health will decline rapidly. I think there is much more that can be said to fix the industry but this video will be over 30 minutes long. Let's wrap up the video. The industry failed One Punch Man, and hopefully this opens the eyes of everyone. One Punch Man Season 3 is the lowest rated season of all time, a world-renowned anime that has become the laughingstock of the industry. I do not wish the fate of One Punch Man Season 3 on any anime or director. The industry has to change, and it needs to change quickly. Otherwise, more popular animes will go through what One Punch Man Season 3 has gone through. Let me know any other suggestions you'd make to fix the anime industry. If you enjoy the anime content, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. Join the Discord and subscribe to the Patreon to support me more. It's your boy Bugzey. I'll see you later. Face Cowboy.